years ago. This was I think, sixth poem I ever wrote. It's one of my favorite poems, so I'm really happy to share it with you. On the eve of the night that we met, it rained cats and dogs and all forms of guilt and shame. And so I held out an umbrella to cover us from the rain. We walked. And as we walked, we talked. And as we talked, she began to open up to me, much like how the heavens had opened the taps hidden in the thick gray clouds, how words came down on me like torrential rains. She told me of how the words of the many men that had passed through and used her had her feeling more battered and abused than the things that they had done with her. But somehow those words had provided wind to her sail. They were fuel for her ego. And so on nights like these, she became her alter ego. An ego with broken wings, an ego that flew a little lower than the rest, but an ego nonetheless. And so often she was left confused, told she was loved, but usually ended up being abused. She couldn't reconcile how love could come with pain, how they could walk together, hold hands, interlock their fingers, make a bond, a chain that would enslave her to the love of pain that comes with love. She held out her arm, showing me her recent scars. She said these were the marks from the arrows of Cupid. She stopped believing in love. She felt it was stupid. She stopped believing in mankind too. She felt man was the kind to watch but never be able to tell the time. She stopped believing in love. She told me that man wanted to be the witness, judge, and the jury. And in the case that the case was to go to trial, the evidence would point to the fact that all they seem to see in us is sin. Last time she stepped foot in a church, the preacher in the nice white tailored suit was talking about money, God, the love of money. He spoke about bread and the dead coming to life. Yet a week later, he was on these same streets asking her for love and an expression of love, trying to transact that with money. And yet still, all they seem to see in us is sin. Forgetting that we are the projection of their thoughts. What you see around you is a product of who you are. Perspective is the lens with which life speaks. And so she felt and heard. And so silently she walked these alleys corner to corner trying to make ends meet. She felt and seen, like all the mirrors were shattered. She was lost in the images they took of her, but never found her own reflection. And so she could no longer see herself. And so she asked me, but what do you see? And at this point, the intensity of the rain increased, and I heard the thunderclap far off in the distance, as if a being greater than her and I was listening in and telling me not to lie. So I told her, I see a young, confused soul. I see in your left eye paths that were left there to lead you to the knowledge of why the world isn't right. I see a spark in you that can light up this very dark night. Dark night, she said? I don't believe in Batman or Superman or any man. As a matter of fact, I have never seen any dark knights in shining armor. I am no damsel in distress waiting for my Denzel. I want light-skinned brothers who have dreams for sale. The kind that listen to J. Cole. The kind that don't save my kind. So don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. She don't want... I told her, you needed the coals of this world to fuel the fierce fire inside of you. You needed pain to have clipped your wings so that you could look for a place of rest, a nest where eagles with broken wings are no less, and every broken soul can find solace. You fool. Heaven is full, she said. The time on her watch said 11, and in her train of thought, that train for heaven had left at 10, and it had left her then with all these men in this hellhole we call earth. It had left her then, a little girl at 10, in a room with that single bed that her father had used with her first encounter with pain. She could still hear the whistle of the departing train, leaving her alone with pain. She would look pain in the eye to eye, but pain's looks were like guns with silencers aimed at her, trying to silence her, telling her to hush, be quiet, don't scream. And so she would cry, crying out beautiful melodies and symphonies of pain with ease, hymns of her wrongs, psalms and prayers in her songs. She was a sinister singer of sinner songs. She was a piano with broken keys, played too often and often running out of keys to play open the locks on the doors of her life. And so she felt boxed in, a little girl at 10, stuck in her room, hearing the whistle of the departing train, trapped, caged in the prison of her body, impregnated with the stagnant conjured thoughts of evil men. And so when she could no longer bear this brainchild, she gave birth to mournings, cries of despair that speak of no hope. In the morning she would cry. She would cry. And when she cried, it rained. And when it rains, God cries. When it rains, God cries to clear the seed of injustice off the fields of the hearts of men. When it rains, God cries to water the trees that provide shade to eagles with broken wings. When it rains, God cries to show his smile after the storm in the magnificent array of a rainbow, because when it rains, God will smile. Thank you.